They said you were crazy for believing in the Denver Broncos. Well, who is crazy now? 3 wins in a row, and we have not come anywhere close to hitting the ceiling of what this team could be. Playoffs are in sight, and playoffs are inevitable if we continue to play as we've played, because we haven't even come close to seeing what the ceiling for this Denver Broncos team could be. More and more great news continues to flow in. Controversial situation hit the Broncos yesterday, and they handled it completely opposite of how they would have handled it last year, and I just couldn't be more hyped this Victory Monday. Drink it down, Broncos Country, because it always goes down smooth. They said we're crazy, but who's crazy now? The crazy people are the ones who are on an airplane taking the L on their way back to Vegas, and just imagine being like the guy who's got to sit next to Gardner Minshew after he's been caught on national TV eating his boogers. That's just got to be an all-time low point for a team that hasn't even made the playoffs in my lifetime, or won a playoff game in my lifetime at least. And it's like, hey, our quarterback eats W's and your quarterback is eating his boogers. But let's get to the real hard facts here. Yesterday we saw a controversy. My phone was blowing up. My sister was on a plane. She didn't get to watch the game, and she just texted me, "Oh no, did Bo and Sean Payton get in a fight?" Well, yes, they did get in a fight, and there was a hot second there where I think everyone in Broncos Country had flashbacks to the Detroit game when Sean Payton was chewing out Russell Wilson. We remember Russell walked off with his tail between his legs. Bo handled it perfectly. Even though he's only a rookie, he stands up to him. He keeps going. They go back. It's several commercial breaks, and you see the conversation going, almost ending with a hug, with like Sean tapping him on the chest, and more has come out about what that fight was actually about. We have the news of what that is. And I'm just insanely impressed with both how Sean Payton handled it and how Bo Nix handled it. And it was incredible here. So Bo was asked, hey, what happened there? Obviously, extremely tense moment. We know Sean Payton doesn't like to have much said to the media whatsoever. He barely gives them anything. And so here's how Bo handled being asked about that tough question.
Bo, there was a very lively conversation with you and Sean Payton after that 45-yard incompletion there. What was going on there, and why were you so heated about it?
Yeah, well, he turned and looked at me and said, "I love you," and I turned and said, "I love you back."
Incredible. Like, as someone who loves using comedy and like being funny to diffuse tension, could not be prouder of how Bo Nix handled that on that end. And in turn, Sean Payton was then joking more and more about it today, making movie references to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it was just the complete opposite of how Russell Wilson handled the being chewed out by Sean Payton last year. Like, you can almost picture Russell Wilson trying to sound authentic and like he's vulnerable and giving examples, but sounding so cliche and just being like, well, when you're two competitors like us and like Sierra taught me to be, you leave it all out there on the field for your teammates, and you don't even know, but Broncos Country, let's ride. And just how Bo hits it on the head. He talks about the what really happened there was the play that he led Troy Franklin just a little too much. Troy Franklin really probably should have had that ball. And if you remember how that play developed, Troy Franklin was on the top of our TV on the right side of the field, and Bo Nix flips the play and has him come all the way down to the bottom of our TV, kind of sends him in motion and has him wide open. I think, first off, like how Bo Nix explains that play, he's like, I don't count that as a drop on Troy. If I could do that again, I would have taken like a yard off of it. I'm telling you, that was a drop by Troy Franklin, and major props for Bo Nix to be the type of leader who puts the blame on himself and is like, hey, I can handle all the heat. I'm in the kitchen, man. I'm not going to throw my rookie wide receiver under the bus, even though he probably should be. So that was awesome. But Sean Payton didn't want the play flipped, and so the controversy on the sideline was him like pointing at the playbook like, hey, here's why I had it like this, and here's how we called it like this. And they ended up being totally fine and joking about it afterwards, and I just could not believe how differently this whole thing was held. Sean Payton coming out today and just being like he actually loved how Bo Nix handled it, that he got heated and that they were able to like work through all of that stuff on the sideline, and saying, I loved his response. We're on to the next play, and it's nothing. And then even Bo Nix coming out and being like, hey, the fact that he's comparing me to Ferris Bueller shows exactly what's so special about this team is that was a tense moment, and we are onto it and already joking about it on an amazing win against a division rival who we hadn't beat in 8 straight games. And so that is fantastic news to just see how incredible it was how we handled that situation. Now, all offseason, as I was hyping up this team and seeing the rest of the national media like dump on this team, I could not wait until they were proved wrong, and I have a whole like screenshot folder on my phone, and I can't wait to bust that out and be like, hey, remember when Peter Schrager said this? Oh, and go down, down, down. What's kind of crazy is that now we're starting to see the national media flip on it, and it doesn't feel good because they're just acting like they knew this was going to happen all along. And so it doesn't feel good. I want them to be like groveling at our feet and saying like, hey, next time before we write outlandish stories, maybe we should show up at training camp or maybe we should go to practice. But I guess I'll take what I can get, which is the national media is finally starting to pay attention to this team, give them the respect that they are due. Kay Adams she is a great reporter, actually was one of the few who showed up at training camp this offseason, came out and said it today that Pat Surtain is Darrelle Revis of our generation, and there's no even competition. So that's incredible that like she doesn't even mention sauce. She doesn't say it's 1A and 1B. She's like calling it what it is, which is that Pat Surtain is nasty. He is different. If we take a look here, this is just absolutely crazy to see that through 5 games so far, he has played the best wide receivers, and then he's also matched up against elite tight ends, and he has yet to allow someone he's guarding to get over 100 yards on them. Like if you look this last game against the Vikings, the Jets played the Vikings, and their number one wideout, Wilson, who had very little production on Pat, he had over 100 yards receiving in one game, and Pat Surtain has yet to allow 100 yards total, and that is awesome. We are seeing Riley Moss step up as a cornerback too, which is something we were hopeful for. We weren't guaranteed of that. We said, I think it's possible. He physically has the gifts, and he is actualizing those gifts. The cool part is like we feel really hyped up about Chris Abrams-Drain, and Levi Wallace is also a starter in this league, and so we have so much depth, and our defense is nasty, and that is very, very exciting. Other really cool point of the day yesterday, in victory formation, it was awesome to see Pat Surtain as the dot on the I there as our backup man. It was just sweet to see him on offense, which was really cool. But we are a little concerned because there was a hot second in yesterday's game when we had like our 4th string offensive line in there, where we had Crum in there, and Crum seemed to be a turnstile in the preseason. Tons of physical gifts, but his head isn't there yet. So under a couple of weeks with Zach Strief, he was very, very serviceable yesterday, obviously in limited snaps, but it seems as if we had injuries from Luke Wattenberg, our center. So Forsyth came in. We had an injury to Palchevsky, who's the backup for Mike McGlinchey, and we had an injury to Garrett Bowles. And so we need to really keep a close eye on the injury report, because I think our offensive line is going to be a critical part of the success of this team moving forward. None of the injuries yesterday, no one was carted off. It seems like a high ankle sprain. Bowles went back in, and then I think Wattenberg will be a day-to-day decision. There wasn't a huge drop-off when Forsyth went in for him, and so that is also very, very good news. Other cool thing that we saw yesterday was I think Sean Payton got away from wanting to prove to the world that he was right with Bo Nix and having him throw the ball 50 times, and had us under center a lot. And when we were under center last week, we were the best offense in the game. Bo Nix had almost a perfect QBR when he was under center. And truly, I don't think that would have been something that would be possible in week 1. We have seen massive steps forward with Bo Nix, who did not line up under center in college. And so his learning curve is like exponential in the fact that he could even be under center as much as he was this last week. I expect to see more and more of that each week, and to continue to see this growth. The reason for excitement in Broncos country is right now we're locked in with the 5 seed. And we've got a home game against the Chargers. We have a game against a team Peyton knows more about than anyone in the league against the Saints. That's going to be a short week right after that. So we got 2 games in 10 days there. And then we get the Panthers at home. And so if we can come out of October already hitting our win total, we are going to make the playoffs, guys. And that is something that we would have been laughed at if we said it 3 months ago. Trust me, I know I have receipts of all the screenshots, but there is a ton of hype, a ton of excitement in Broncos country for good reason. 3 in a row, 2 of those games being games people said we had no shot of winning, but we love proving the haters wrong. And Victory Monday, drink it up, Broncos country, because it always goes down smooth, and we've got a ton to believe in.